Rate laws and rate orders can be super helpful, but most of the reaction that chemists and scientists run into are first order. And as a matter of fact, all biological reactions, all radioactive reactions, and most regular chemistry reactions follow first order kinetics. So if you do some fancy stuff to a first order reaction, you can get out a pretty helpful equation. So in a first order reaction, all right, rate equals K times some reactant to the first order. That's what it means to be first order. They've got a little superscript 1 right there. Well, rate was equal to the change of the concentration over time, and because it's a reactant, we'll put a negative sign in front of it. So negative parentheses delta R over delta time equals K times R to the first power. And if you remember from calculus, if you've taken it, or if you haven't taken calculus, this is something you'll see. It's not important. But if you integrate 1 over R dr, and that equals minus K delta T, or dt, you can get a kind of a useful expression out. Now, if what I just said is gobbledygook, don't worry about it, because this is not a calculus-based class. But if you integrate that thing in red right there, the last line in red, you get a really helpful equation out. And what it comes down to is natural log of R over R0 equals minus KT. And this crazy thing is called the integrated first order rate law. And you're like, oh boy, Dr. Vessa, that's really cool. That's really neat. Okay, this is why it's going to be cool. Because R0 is how much you start with, and R at T is the amount that you have left at time T. So RT over R0 is how much you have left after time T has elapsed. And you can see how the rate constant K fits in there. So the integrated first order rate law has lots of uses. One use is just to find the rate constant K, which can be kind of a pain to find. This is a nice, quick way to find it. If you know how much you started with, R0, and you know how much is left, RT at time T, you can solve for the K, which is a super cool thing. But what's also really useful is, let's say you have a reaction which is really slow. So for example, the half-life of carbon-14, which we'll talk more about in the next section, its time elapsed is just super, super long. It's like 5,730 years for half of it to go away. So that's pretty slow. Well, maybe you don't know how much you started with. You don't know what R0 is. Well, if you have the rate constant K and the time elapsed and you know how much is left, you can back calculate as to how much you started with. So integrated first order rate law is seriously cool. You should know it. We're going to use it a lot, and I'll try and convince you as well how awesome it is, even if right now you don't know. Now, ln is the natural log. In science and math, there's base 10 logs, log, and there's natural logs, ln. And don't confuse them. Like, don't use log logs here, use just ln's. But this is a natural log expression. We'll talk about some math, how to figure this out. On your calculator, you should have a lnx button probably. So if you wanted to find the natural log of a number, you would go natural log, the button, and then put the number in and enter, all right? Probably there's a second function, lnx button, that says a little e to the x. That's called the anti-natural log. We'll talk about that here in a little bit too. A little bit weird, like all of kinetics, I guess, but very powerful. And let me see if I can show you how cool it actually is. So let's look at an example of how to use the integrated first order rate law. And sucrose is a type of sugar, and it breaks down into simpler sugars over time. And this reaction's been studied pretty extensively. Rate equals K times sucrose, and there's not a 1 power there, but it is a first order reactant. All right, so sucrose is first order reactant. And the value of K at this temperature, 0.21 inverse hours. If we start with 0.010 molar sucrose, it'd be nice to know how long it takes for 90% of it to react, i.e. we have about 10% left, or 0.0010 molar. And this is where the integrated first order rate law can be really helpful. So in this problem, R0, the amount we start with, 0.010, and RT, how much is left, that's going to be 0.0010, and rate constant K, 0.21 hours, inverse hours. So the only thing we don't know then is T, how long it's going to take for this reaction to go. This is where the first order integrated rate law comes in really handy. We're going to use that natural log button, stuff like that. So R0, how much we started with, 0.010. RT, how much is left. We want to know how long it takes to get to 90% decomposition or down to 10%. That's 0.0010 moles per liter. We know that K is 0.21, so the only thing here we don't have is T. So natural log 0.010 divided by 0.010 in your calculator should come out to be minus 2.30. And try that. All right, make sure that you're getting that value, because if you're not, there's something else going on. Like, don't use LOG, use the LN button. But if you get minus 2.30 for that part, you're good to go. And minus 2.30 equals minus KT. K is 0.21 inverse hours. Solve for the time. Time comes out to be 11 hours. So a couple of notes on this problem. First of all, we'll talk about the sig figs of logarithms in Chem 223. Don't worry about it too much. If you use reasonable sig figs, I'm happy. Don't feel like you have to learn all the ins and outs of that. We'll talk about that in Chem 223. Rate constant K and time will always be positive numbers. All right, no question about it. So in this case, K was 0.21 inverse hours, time was 11 hours. They're both positive numbers. And notice the units. If time is in hours, then K will be inverse hours. So if you had a K of inverse minutes, then your time would come out to be minutes. They'll be the same kind of units. They'll be positive numbers, but the K will have inverse time. And finally, the RT over R0, you must use the same kinds of units there too. So we're using moles per liter over moles per liter, which is great. But you can use a lot of different kinds of units there, and as long as they're the same thing, it'll work out really great. So this integrated first order rate law is super cool, and I'll keep showing you examples to try and convince you of that as we go through these particular slides. Okay, so here's a question you might see. We've got some reaction A going to B. Disappearance of A is first order, i.e. we're going to use integrated first order rate law. K, 0.030. We're beginning with 0.36 moles per liter. What will A be after 46 minutes? Okay, so integrated first order rate law, natural log R over R0 equals minus KT. In this problem, we know R0, how much we start with, 0.36. We don't know RT, how much is going to be left. We know that minus KT minus the K is 0.030, and the time is 46 minutes. So notice that time and K are both positive. They're both the same kind of units, like we don't have one in seconds and one in minutes where we have to convert. So we have to solve there then for RT, how much is left. So when you do this problem, it comes out to be 0.090 moles per liter. But I want to focus on the math here just a little bit. So right here, natural log R over R0 equals minus KT, no problem. But we need to get rid of the logarithm, and that's where we use the anti-natural log, which is e to the x. Now, e to the natural log of something, the e and the natural log cancel out. So you can see on the next part then, we just have R divided by 0.36. That's because both of those parts cancel out. But on the other part then, you've got this little e value, e raised to the power of minus kt. Now, little e is just a number. It's Euler's number, I think, 2.712, blah, blah, blah. It's just a constant. You don't even need to worry about it, but you do need to use anti-natural logs. So you'd go e to the power of minus 0.030 times 46 to get the part on the right side. And if you get to 2 sig figs, 0.25, you've done it right. If you don't, let me know. So r divided by 0.36 equals 0.25. R is 0.36 times 0.25. R comes out to be 0.090. If you can do this problem and the last problem, you've got the natural log thing down. All right. It's nice to know how to do an anti-natural log. That's the e to the x. That allows you to get rid of those logarithms when we don't need them in problems like this. So there's lots of use for this integrated first order rate law. You can tell if a reaction is first order based on experiment, which is another thing. Now, most reactions are first order, but not all of them. You also have second order and you have zero order. So if it's first order, rate equals K times N2O5 to the first power. And these are just some different values here. These are values of N2O5 in the second column versus their time on the first part, on the first column. So you can see how the N2O5 concentration is decreasing. Reactants are constantly being used up. Now, just bear with me. I'm also determining the natural log of the concentration on the third column. Natural log of 1 is 0. Natural log of 0.705 is negative 0.35, etc., etc. And I'll share with you why I'm doing this here in just a second. If you plot the concentration of N2O5 versus time, it's not very linear. Like you can see there's kind of like a dip in the data. Like the first point and the last point are above the line and the last 2 points are below the line. So we would not call the N2O5 versus time data linear. It's got some other kind of math thing going on. However, if you plot the natural log of N2O5 concentration versus time, you get a beautiful straight line. So we would say that the plot of natural log N2O5 versus time is a straight line. We would call it a first order reaction. And I'll show you why on the next one. So if you're doing a reaction for the first time and no one's ever done it, if you plot the data of the concentration of your reactant versus time, and you see that the natural log of the concentration versus time is a straight line, that means it's going to be a first order reaction. So remember that most reactions are first order, but not all of them. And this is a cool way to verify if it is first order or find out if it's zero or second order. Now, why that is, we have to delve a little bit into the logarithm world. And if you look in the upper right-hand side there, there's a trick you can use with logarithms. Natural log of x over y is equivalent to the natural log of x minus the natural log of y. And we're going to use this trick. So in our first order integrated rate law, natural log of a over a0 or r over r0, whichever one you want to use, that equals minus kt. And you can rewrite that as natural log of a minus natural log of a0 equals minus kt, and then place the natural log of a0 on the other side. You get this expression, natural log of a at time t equals minus kt plus natural log of a0. And you're like, oh boy, Dr. Russell, that's really cool. What's so exciting about that? Well, that's an expression for a straight line. And if you remember from the graphing lab we did, or if you've taken this stuff in math before, a straight line can be expressed as y equals mx plus b. And m in that expression is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. So if you plot on your y-axis the natural log of the concentration values, and on the x value you have time, you should see a straight line. And the slope will equal minus k, which is kind of cool. And the y-intercept is the concentration of your reactant at time zero, like how much you started with. And this is super huge for science because, wow, if maybe you don't know how much original material you had, hey, no problem. Plot the natural log of concentration versus time. And if you go to the y-intercept, you can figure out what it is. Also, finding the rate constant can be kind of tricky. This provides a really nice way to find the rate constant. The slope equals minus k. So if you take minus the slope, it'll give you a positive number. Rate constants k are always positive, like we said. Great way to find the rate constant. So all first order reactions, which is everything in biology, everything in radioactive chemistry, most of regular chemistry too, all of those reactions will give a straight line if you plot natural log of r versus time, which is really cool. Now, in case you happen to have one of the other types of order, second order or zero order, you will also get a straight line if you plot 1 over the concentration versus time. That's a second order test. And if you plot just concentration versus time and get a straight line, that's going to be a zero order test. And in the handout and on the next page, I'll talk more about about this. But anyway, it's a pretty cool use. It's a great way to find the rate constant K. It's a great way to find how much material you started with. Remember that rate constants K are always going to be positive numbers. Slopes will come out to be a negative number. You need to take the minus the slope to find the positive K value. Good to go. Here's an overview of the three different types of rate constants you can see. So the top one is zero order, middle is first order, second one, the last one there is the second order. Let's look at the middle one, the first order, because that's the most common one. So rate equals K times A, and you don't have to put the little superscript 1, but it's not bad to do that. That's what you're going to do. And if you plot this then, natural log of the concentration versus time, you should see a straight line, which is really cool. Slope equals minus K, y-intercept equals the natural log of the concentration. There's also something called half-life we'll talk about in a little bit. There's a nice way to find half-life from K or K from half-life, and we'll talk about that. The other ones, the top one for zero order and the bottom one for second order, are helpful too. If you have a brand new reaction you're looking at, you should do a test to see which order it behaves. And most of these orders will be first order, but just to make sure, you should do zero order tests and second order tests, and we'll talk about this in the problem set. This is the kind of question you might see. It says the graphs below were obtained for a chemical reaction, and it wants to know what the order with respect to the rate law is. And you can see how the first graph is concentration versus time, the second graph, natural log of concentration versus time, and the third graph is 1 over concentration versus time. And it wants you to know, well, first of all, D doesn't make any sense, not enough information, because of course this is what we've been talking about. So anyway, what you want to do is you want to look for the best straight line, all right? And the best straight line in those three graphs is certainly the third one, 1 over concentration versus time. So that's definitely a linear relationship. The other ones have some kind of curve associated with it. So if it's 1 over A versus time gives you the best linear fit, 1 over A versus time, that's a second order existence. So we would say that this reaction is a second order reaction, and we're good to go.